Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you would have defended them against the entire world? I did, and that's exactly why what happened next shattered me. The day everything changed started like any other Tuesday. I was sitting in my office, finishing paperwork before heading home. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. An unknown number. Normally, I ignored messages from strangers. But for some reason, I opened it. What I saw made my stomach drop. The message contained only one sentence. Ask Daniel where he was last Friday night. Attached below were 3 photos. I stared at them. At first, my brain refused to understand what I was looking at. Then reality hit me. The man in those pictures was my husband, Daniel, the same man who kissed me goodbye every morning. The same man who constantly told me he loved me. The same man who promised he would never hurt me. And standing beside him was another woman. Not once, not twice, in every single photo, laughing, holding hands, looking far too comfortable together. My hands started shaking. No, I whispered, there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe someone was trying to create problems. Maybe. My thoughts stopped when another message arrived. If you don't believe me, keep watching. At that moment, I felt something I had never felt before. Fear, not fear of losing him. Fear that I had never truly known him. 2. The perfect husband. Daniel and I had been married for 6 years. To everyone around us, we were the perfect couple. We rarely argued. We traveled together. We supported each other's careers. Whenever people talked about healthy relationships, they used us as an example. At least that's what I thought. Looking back now, I realize there were signs. Small signs, tiny cracks hidden beneath the surface. Daniel suddenly started working late. He became protective of his phone. He took business trips more often. Whenever I asked questions, he always had answers ready. And because I trusted him completely, I never pushed further. Trust can be beautiful, but trust without awareness can be dangerous. That night, when Daniel came home, I watched him carefully. He walked through the door smiling. Hey, sweetheart. He kissed my forehead, the same forehead he had kissed thousands of times before. But this time felt different. This time, I knew something he didn't. I smiled back, pretended everything was normal. Inside, my heart was breaking. During dinner, I finally asked, how was last Friday? For a brief second, I saw panic flash across his face. Then it disappeared. Fine, he said, just work, work. Such a simple word, such a massive lie. And that's when I realized something. If he could lie that easily, this wasn't his first lie. 3. Digging for the truth. The next few days were torture. Part of me wanted to confront him immediately. Part of me wanted to pretend none of it was happening. But another part wanted the truth. The complete truth. So I stayed quiet. I watched. I listened. I paid attention. Then the anonymous messages continued. More photos. More dates. More evidence. Whoever was sending them knew everything. Eventually, I received a video. Just 10 seconds long. But 10 seconds was all it took. Daniel wasn't just spending time with another woman. He was living a completely different life. A life I knew nothing about. I cried that night. Not because I loved him. Not because I was afraid of losing him. I cried because I realized I had spent years loving someone who never truly existed. The man I married was real. But the version of him I trusted, that version was a lie. And lies have consequences. 4. The secret begins to unravel. A week later, I decided to investigate on my own. I followed one lead from the messages. Then another. And another. What I discovered shocked me even more. The woman wasn't a random stranger. Her name was Rachel. She worked with Daniel. And according to social media, many people believed they were a couple. A couple. My husband was presenting himself as someone else's partner while still married to me. I felt sick. But then things became worse. Much worse. I discovered Daniel had been telling completely different stories to different people. To me, he claimed he was traveling for work. To coworkers, he claimed we were separated. To Rachel, he implied our marriage was practically over. He had built an entire world using lies. And every lie supported another lie. Like a house made of cards. One wrong move, and everything would collapse. At that moment, I faced a choice. I could leave quietly, or I could expose the truth. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because people deserved to know who he really was. And for the first time since receiving that first message, I smiled, because a plan was beginning to form. 5. Building the perfect response. Most people think revenge happens in one emotional moment. They're wrong. The most effective revenge is patient, careful, precise. I spent the next month gathering information. Screenshots, messages, timelines, records, everything. I never broke rules. I never crossed lines. I simply collected the truth. Meanwhile, Daniel had no idea. Every night, he came home pretending to be the perfect husband. Every morning, he left believing his secrets were safe. And every day, the evidence grew. Sometimes he would look at me and smile. Sometimes he would tell me how lucky he was. Sometimes he would talk about our future. And each time, I wondered how someone could lie so comfortably. How someone could look directly into another person's eyes and deceive them. But eventually, I stopped asking. Because I already knew the answer. People lie when they believe they'll never face consequences. Daniel believed he was untouchable. He was wrong, very wrong. The day of truth was getting closer. And when it arrived, his entire world would change. Opportunity arrived sooner than I expected. Daniel's company was hosting a large anniversary celebration. Employees, managers, clients, friends, and family members were all invited. Daniel was excited. For weeks, he talked about it constantly. This event could lead to a promotion, he told me. I need everything to go perfectly. I remember looking at him and thinking how strange those words sounded. Because while he was planning for everything to go perfectly, I was preparing for everything to fall apart. The night of the event finally arrived. The ballroom was beautiful, elegant lights filled the room. People laughed, music played softly, everyone seemed happy, including Daniel, especially Daniel. He walked around shaking hands, smiling confidently, acting like a respected and trustworthy man. Watching him felt surreal, because I knew something none of those people knew. The version of Daniel they admired wasn't real. And before the night ended, they would discover the truth. My heart raced as I sat quietly at our table. Not because I was nervous. Because after weeks of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. The moment I had imagined countless times. The moment when lies would meet reality. 7. The unexpected alley. Before the event began, I received one final message from the anonymous number. Good luck tonight. That was it. No explanation, no name, just those 3 words. For weeks, I had wondered who was helping me, who had started sending evidence, who had opened my eyes. I never discovered their identity. And honestly, I didn't need to. Because whoever they were, they gave me the chance to see the truth. And that truth changed everything. As the evening continued, Daniel eventually stepped onto the stage. The room applauded. He looked proud, confident, untouchable. He began giving a speech about honesty, teamwork, and trust. Trust. Of all the words he could have chosen. Trust. The irony was almost unbelievable. I glanced around the room. Everyone listened carefully. Everyone admired him. Everyone believed him. For now. 8. The truth comes out. A presentation was scheduled after Daniel's speech. The company planned to display photos and achievements from the past year. That was when my plan began. Weeks earlier, I had prepared a folder. A folder containing nothing but facts. Nothing edited, nothing exaggerated, just truth, pure truth. As the presentation started, images appeared on the giant screen. Company events, awards, team celebrations. The audience smiled. Everything looked normal. Then suddenly, the screen changed. A different image appeared. Then another. Then another. The room became silent. Completely silent. You could almost hear people holding their breath. The photos showed Daniel, not at work, not on business trips, but with Rachel. Different dates, different locations, different stories, all connected by one undeniable fact. He had been lying. The audience stared at the screen. Some looked confused, others looked shocked. Daniel froze. For the first time since I had known him, he looked afraid. Real fear, not the fear of getting caught in a small mistake. The fear of watching years of deception collapse in seconds. He rushed toward the organizers. He demanded the presentation stop. But it was too late. People had already seen enough. Far more than enough. The truth was finally visible. And unlike lies, truth doesn't disappear once people see it. 9. His world starts falling apart. The room exploded with whispers. Questions, confusion, disbelief. Daniel tried explaining, then he tried denying, then he tried blaming, but every explanation created more problems. Every excuse contradicted another excuse. His carefully built world was collapsing exactly like I expected. One card falling after another. I watched quietly. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to argue. The evidence spoke for itself. Rachel looked devastated. Several coworkers looked angry. Others simply looked disappointed. And somehow, disappointment seemed to hurt Daniel more than anything else. Because people weren't just discovering a mistake. They were discovering a pattern. A pattern of deception. A pattern of manipulation. A pattern of selfish choices. And suddenly, the image he had spent years creating disappeared. Not because I destroyed it. Because the truth exposed it. There's a difference. A very important difference. 10. The conversation. Later that night, Daniel found me outside. His confident smile was gone. His voice shook. Why would you do this? The question stunned me. Not because it hurt. Because of how absurd it sounded. Why would I do this? After everything he had done. After every lie, every betrayal, every deception. I looked directly at him. Then I gave him the simplest answer possible. I didn't do this. He frowned. Yes, you did. I shook my head. No, Daniel, you did. The silence between us lasted several seconds. Then I continued. The truth didn't ruin your life. Your choices did. Those words hit him harder than anything else. Because deep down, he knew they were true. For the first time, he couldn't blame anyone else. Not me, not Rachel, not coworkers, not bad luck. The person responsible was standing right there, looking back at him from every mirror. 11. Starting over. The following months weren't easy. People often imagine revenge stories ending with celebration. Real life doesn't work that way. Even when justice happens, healing takes time. I moved out. I focused on rebuilding my life. Some days were difficult. Some nights were lonely. There were moments when I questioned everything. But something unexpected happened. I started feeling lighter, stronger, free, because carrying someone else's lies is exhausting. And once those lies disappeared, so did the weight they placed on my shoulders. Meanwhile, Daniel faced the consequences of his actions. Not because I chased him. Not because I attacked him. Because trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. Many relationships around him changed. Many opportunities disappeared. Many people saw him differently. And all of it started with one thing. The truth. 12. The final lesson. A year later, I received another message from the anonymous number. Only one sentence. I'm glad you finally saw who he really was. Then the number disappeared forever. I never learned who sent those messages. Maybe it was someone who cared. Maybe it was someone who was tired of watching lies continue. Maybe it was someone who believed I deserved the truth. Whoever they were, they changed my life. Not by helping me get revenge, but by helping me wake up. Because the greatest victory wasn't exposing Daniel. The greatest victory was finding myself again. I learned something important through all of this. Betrayal doesn't break you, it reveals you. It reveals your strength, your courage, your ability to keep moving forward even when your heart feels shattered. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's refusing to let their lies define your future. The day I exposed his lies, his whole world changed.